You are the one that has finally been justified, that your cause has finally been seen for what it is. But see, the thing is that you're a liar, and liars don't prosper. You know, when you're like, he walked in on me and I was breastfeeding. He tried to take advantage and see my breasts. When I'm like, aren't you the one pushing him up in our eyes 24/7? They're your greatest asset. But he tried to look at my breasts when I was breastfeeding. Even though we now have the text message when she's like, come on over, I'm breastfeeding. Oh yeah, you really didn't want him to see anything.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Dear Denise, and today is Friday, so that means we've got tons of stories to cover. And since I didn't do as much pop culture stuff this week, we have many things to discuss. Lots of stuff has gone down. Many stories have occurred. One of the stories that I really just didn't get into that much this week was about Blake Lively. Now, I saw the news, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, that in a shocking display of corruption, if you ask me, the judges decided to dismiss Baldoni's case against Blake Lively. Now, you guys, there was a time in which I had intended to go to law school, and just kind of reading about why this thing was dismissed is one of the reasons why I never would have made it. I don't get it. I don't know if I'm just like incredibly dense. I don't know if I just needed a 17th cup of coffee. I don't get why the judge came to this conclusion. I don't get it. I feel like the judge responded not to facts, but to a bribe. Now, of course, that's allegedly. But it just doesn't make sense to me. The judge said that because both of these people are public figures, and because Blake Lively's statements against Justin were in a complaint about his behavior that was made in California, and then consequently leaked to the New York Times, no one can deny that fact. That those complaints that she made, she was within her right to make those complaints. And so if she made those statements in a complaint against his behavior, he can't come around and say she's defaming me. The judge said she was within her legal rights to make a complaint against him. But see, this is the thing I don't understand. The judge is also saying that he doesn't have a leg to stand on with the Ryan Reynolds situation, in which Ryan Reynolds went over to the agency that was representing Justin Baldoni, and Ryan went to them and said, you need to let this guy go. He is like a blot on your reputation. And they drop him as a client. So now Justin no longer is with the agency that he was, the talent agency. The judge says, well, we don't know if Ryan did that out of malice. I mean, he did it, based off of things that Blake said to him, who is his wife. Why should he believe that his wife is lying to him? And I'm like, well, maybe we would know that if you'd let the case go to trial and we could actually get to discovery. I mean, what do you mean we don't know? Have you not read anything that Justin's lawyer has compiled? I mean, we haven't even gotten to discovery and look at everything we have. I just feel like I don't understand how the judge came to this conclusion. It's just like these sweeping statements. Well, we don't know. Well, we would if you'd let it go to trial. So, but here's the thing. Blake Lively's been trotting herself out. She's just real impressed with herself. Look what she got accomplished. And she's been prancing and preening, and she just can't wait to be found by the paparazzi on the New York streets. Like, she's just everywhere all of a sudden. She's posting things on her Instagram. You guys, it's been a long, hard journey, but so many of you I know, so many of you I don't know, but we've all stood together in the cause of women. And she just loves to think of herself as some kind of Joan of Arc in this battle against the devil. Okay. But in the court of public opinion, she's not going to work again. We don't support these people, okay? And recently, on the tails of this big win she's had, we're still getting stories about her being a bully to the everyman. We're still getting stories in which she thinks she's superior to everyone. And why shouldn't she think she's superior, honestly, when somehow or other she has finagled this judge into agreeing to everything that she has claimed was a reality, yet that same understanding can't seem to be extended to Justin. Why is the judge just assuming Justin has nothing to say? Oh, that Blake did everything out of the overflow of her generous heart, just looking out for other women in the industry. I am so floored. Okay. Well, a video came out like right on the heels of this big win that she had, where somebody made a TikTok video, and it's making the rounds, who had been in a shop that Blake Lively was in. And Blake was making videos and posting them in real time to her Instagram account at this moment. She'd gone into this little shop in which you can get a little bag, and then on the bag you can put all this tacky ass junk onto the bag. And she was like, the 90s kid in me loves how I can like make this my own with all the glitter and all the bedazzles. And so she's posting all these stories on Instagram of her in this little shop. Simultaneously, someone else was in the shop at the time, didn't realize that Blake was trying to, have an Instagram moment here. And she's just shopping. She's not doing anything. But she witnessed all kinds of behavior from Blake. And it was very evident that Blake wanted the shop to herself, although nobody had been posted at the door to make sure other customers didn't come in. There wasn't a do not disturb sign or we're closed for the moment, nothing like that. Anyway, she sees her way out because the atmosphere is icy. And she goes outside and she makes a TikTok video about what she observed. She sees Blake's security guard move in front of the door to disallow anyone else from going in so that Blake can finish posting on social media about this fun little moment she's having in this fun little shop, But let me just let you watch the video, because it would appear that Blake is behaving exactly as we would expect her to behave in public.
I don't know how she has any fans anymore. The way she's talking to the workers at the store was so rude. Like, she was like, I want a fresh one of these, one that wasn't touched by other customers. No, 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 no. Is there a private bathroom? No, 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 no. And like, not ignoring her kids, ignoring her niece, ignoring everyone, just building whatever she wanted at the, bar at Stony Clover. But I was like, oh my God, like, people are working hard in stores like this, and this is how you're treating them. Like, you're being so entitled. And the second we walked out, like, it was clear that we were invading their space. It's a store, first of all. There's no sign that says you can't enter. She didn't block it off. And the second that we walk in, or the second we leave, her security guard comes and stands in front of the door. And like, now I'm at the corner of the street and the security guard is staring at me, and I'm like, dude, I can't just look at a store, I can't just shop. Like, she's not the Queen of Sheba. Calm down.
So I don't care that the judge is giving Blake all of this undue understanding. I don't think this is the end of the story. I mean, hope springs eternal, but I really don't want this to be the end of the story. I don't think it will be. Meghan Kelly had Justin Baldoni's lawyer on, and this is really why I was waiting to comment on it, because I knew she would. So I was like, I need to hear that guy talk. He says it's not the end, and that the judge has basically given them a pathway back to, I don't know, I guess, re-engage and I guess try again. I don't know all the words. But here's the thing. Why would the judge do that when the original case was just fine? Is this the judge just kicking the can down the road because they're getting pressure from Ryan and Blake's team? Because I don't understand making a ruling saying, well, you can't bring this court case on, but let me kind of give you a roadmap on how to come back around later. You guys, this is why I shouldn't have been a lawyer. I don't get it, okay? I don't. To me, it just seems like a bunch of people waiting around to, like I said, kick the can down the road, deal with this later, which isn't the entire judicial system. Let's just do this later. Anyway, Blake, you might think, you can parade around like you've just, won the lottery, that you are the one that has finally been justified, that your cause has finally been seen for what it is. But see, the thing is that you're a liar, and liars don't prosper. When you're like, he walked in on me and I was breastfeeding. He tried to take advantage and see my breasts. When I'm like, aren't you the one pushing him up in our eyes 24/7? They're your greatest asset. But he tried to look at my breasts when I was breastfeeding. Even though we now have the text message when she's like, come on over, I'm breastfeeding. Oh yeah, you really didn't want him to see anything. And then she's like, they made me look at pornography. They made me look at gross pictures of women. And it's like, no, that's a beautiful picture of somebody in a bathtub with his wife after she just gave birth to their child. There's no nudity even in the photo. We're just trying to get the essence of a vibe here so that we can reset that same essence for the film. You weirdo. Why would you call this scene some kind of a triple X rated scenario? What are you up to where this would be a triple X rated scenario? May I ask you, Blake Lively?
They took advantage of me. They made me put on barely any clothes. And then he got one of his cronies to look down at my crotch that was barely covered.
What are you talking about, Blake? You had on a fake belly, you had biker shorts on, and a hospital gown. Barely clothed? Do we have different definitions? I think if we looked in the dictionary, this would be, as Judge Judy says, the antonym of naked. So she's a liar, and liars don't prosper. So we shall see. We shall see. But I just don't think we've seen the end, even if she wants to go around parading and celebrating and, showing off herself all over the place. I'll tell you somebody who I don't believe thinks it's over, and that's Ryan Reynolds. I think he sees this as a kind of brief respite, but he does not seem to share the same cheerful exterior that she does. So we shall see. Probably because he's over there pulling all kinds of strings in the background and he knows it isn't exactly cinched. But since she lives in a world of delusion, she's going to pretend like everything's okay. Now, speaking about Blake, this always lends us into talking about Taylor Swift since they used to be besties, but no more. Taylor has, by the way, deleted all these old pictures of she and Blake back when they were, having good times together. Delete, 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 as though that makes it not so. Sorry, those pictures are on the internet forever. So you can delete all you want. But again, are you living in a world of delusion? Just because you deleted it off of your Instagram doesn't mean we don't know these photos exist. Except now you get to look at your little curated life on Instagram and pretend that's reality. You guys, we really need to get off the social media. Anyway, there was a big kerfuffle of these past weeks because she attended some wedding of Travis's cousin or something. And then somebody posted a photo of an envelope, and on the back of the envelope it said Taylor and Travis, table 22. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, is this an indication that this is her wedding? Oh my, did we just get confirmation that this isn't a cousin wedding? Is Taylor Swift's wedding? Oh my gosh, is she and Travis married? Is it true? Okay, I'm telling you right now that if Taylor Swift got married, we would know about it, okay? Because she would want everybody to see this, new love story that she has. The culmination of all her heartbreak has finally come in her wedding. We would be getting pictures. And even if they did it secretly, they'd be leaking pictures afterwards so we could all see her in her bridal array, okay? She's not wearing some piece of junk to some wedding out in the backwoods of Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? This is not her wedding, okay? But more than that, in this same picture in which we were all supposed to be led to believe that the back of this envelope, because it said their names together, also in that same picture is somebody else's envelope with a different name on top. So how many people were getting married that day if that's the indication that this is the name of the bride and the groom? Are we so busy living vicariously through everybody else and everybody else's love stories we just can't manage to understand the truth? Is Taylor married to Travis? Could it be? Well, even what if they are? What bearing does that have on your life, As I've stated many times, I don't think that they are a real couple. I don't believe it. I just, not even part of me believes it. I don't see it. You guys, Travis Kelce has only ever dated black women. I believe that money, again, has exchanged hands in order to make this, our visual reality. But I don't think that's the reality behind the scenes. Okay, let's talk about some people who are also having difficulties behind the scenes. That would be one Ben Affleck. Now, we all know that the marriage that he had with Jennifer was, I don't know, maybe him trying to reach back into a time and place in which he thought he was happy, maybe thinking, oh, I've been really unhappy. Maybe if I'd actually stayed with her, I would be happy. But he learned right quick that was a big fat mistake because they didn't even make it to the 2-year mark. And then he was like, holy hell, I got to get out of here. So he gets out of the relationship. And now the story is not that he is regretting it. No, he's more than happy with his choice to leave, but he can't get out fast enough. The relationship is over, but the one asset that they still share is this $20 million house that they can't seem to get off their hands. Why would that be? I mean, isn't the world flush with people with $20 million to buy a house with? Well, apparently not. So they're having a real hard time selling this thing. And so at this point, he's just said, I'll decrease the value, cut the value, whatever you need to do in order to sell this thing. So he's going to lose $8 million. He doesn't care. Anything that he has to do just to get away from her, just to end it, cut ties, I'm done. And he's interestingly stated, when he's been asked in the red carpet, how are things going? What are you supposed to say to that? It's terrible. It's horrible. All we have to do is look at his face to know it's going. He hated her. He hated the paparazzi. He hated the experience. He hated it all. So somebody's like, so how's it going? And so he, gives us this long diatribe about, well, the kids, I love her kids, and the kids are great, and I'm happy about the kids. It's like, well, we didn't ask about the kids. We're asked about how it's going with you. But, the absence of an answer is the answer. Okay. Other people who are living to rue the day that they once connected with others, that would be Brad Pitt. Now, here's a real story. Let's settle ourselves down for this one. You guys know, I think it was last Friday or a couple Fridays, I don't know what it was, but one Friday we were talking about a bunch of pictures that had come out of Brad Pitt in GQ. And he had mentioned in that article, well, my marriage is over. It's officially over. Finally, we've signed all the papers, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. So that's done. And he's like, people want to know how I feel about it. But I've been with the woman for 9 years, so I'm not licking my wounds or anything. But let's talk about a place where he might be licking his wounds, and that is in the relationship with his children. This week, we got a bunch of news about how bad his relationship is with that pack of kids he has. Now, you will recall that he has some adopted children and some biological children, but it doesn't seem to matter. He's not into many of them. And they're real annoyed and real angry about it. But see, it's hard to know where reality lies. Now, these angry, rebellious children say their dad is the worst and always has been. But they also are hanging out with their mom all the time who divorced him. So it's kind of hard to know, well, is this your opinion or is this your mom's opinion? Or is it just the reality that probably both your parents are pretty questionable? I would say, judging by both of their actions in various scenarios previous to all the children they had, that both of them have acted in ways that would raise one's eyebrows. You leave your wife because you fell in love with the girl on the set of a movie, Brad. That doesn't bode well for you. But also, Angelina, you were in a relationship with your brother and wore blood from a boyfriend around your neck. So it's kind of like, are either one of you the greatest, moral arbiters of our time? Hard to say. But Brad Pitt has recently decided that he's just cutting off his child Pax. Now, Pax is 21 years old, and he has been out partying and at 3 o'clock in the morning, stumbling out of one club to go to another strip club. He's just like a hot mess. He is sort of just seemingly to be in his typical rebellious Hollywood child of a bunch of rich celebrities, party boy image. That seems to be the story he's living. Well, Brad says, I don't really care what he does because he's an adult. He can do what he wants to do. What he does are actions that reflect his decision making, not actions that reflect me as a father. So he can go do his thing and live his life. Very sort of disengaged to the boy. Now, the boy is 21, so in all technicality, he is an adult. But it would seem that a father might say something like, it grieves me to see that these are the choices he's making. But Brad's statement, although through sources, so these are sources being like, well, Brad thinks, so how much can we really believe? But according to this source, the source says, well, Brad just feels like Pax is an adult and he can make his own decisions. I don't know. And it might be that, maybe dads feel that more that way than, say, like moms who are just, everything that happens to their kids, their heart just bleeds. And I think dads maybe sometimes are able to disengage a little bit more emotionally and just say, well, those are the decisions they're making, or at least say so on the outside. But see, the other problem is that he has a 23-year-old named Maddox who is also super not into his dad. So Pax is out here living his best life, and Brad is over here saying, well, he can do what he wants, but I wash my hands of the scenario. Maddox is a little bit more entrenched in anger publicly towards Brad as far back as 2020. So Maddox has the belief that Brad Pitt is a really despicable person, not just like an absent dad, not just somebody who's not engaged with the kids, but like an actively despicable person who was traumatized he and his siblings these many years. And apparently there was an incident on a private plane back in 2016 when Maddox was 15 years old, where there was a physical altercation between he and Brad Pitt. And this is supposedly what led to the divorce in the first place. So Angelina Jolie is like, are you physically disciplining my child? I don't know the extent of this physical altercation, but Brad got into it with his teenage son. And that just threw everything into a complete chaotic tailspin. Well, because of that incident, all the children supposedly have now lived in fear of Brad and, in Maddox's words, tremble in his presence. So on Father's Day, 4 or 5 years ago, he wrote in a post, "You time and time again prove to be a despicable person. You have no consideration or empathy for your 4 youngest children who tremble in fear when in your presence. You have made the lives of those closest to me a constant hell. You may tell yourself whatever you want, and you may tell the world whatever you want, but the truth will come to light one day." And these are the words of Maddox. Now, Brad Pitt says this is all the work of his evil genius ex-wife, Angelina Jolie, and all I have to do is look into her eyes to sort of believe it. She does have a very frightening presence. It's just me, or does she look like a used-up woman of the night? I'm not sure, but it wouldn't be too far of a cry to believe she has the ability to manipulate the minds of her children against her husband. Now, I've always liked Brad Pitt, so I could just completely be taking his side of things just because I like him better than her. I never really liked her. I thought she always has had a bit of a, savior complex. I always thought that she sort of looked at herself as more important than she ought to have. And I know that she adopted a bunch of kids back when it was the it thing to do among the celebrity class, to adopt some children from some war-torn countries and pat yourself on the back as being the savior of that particular race. But I just always felt like she wasn't a sincere and genuine person. And I thought, it's all well and good to go run across the world and find some poor child that needs to be adopted. I mean, on the surface, that looks pretty good. But what if you just, what if charity begins at home and you don't steal someone's husband? What if we just started there, instead of worrying about running across the country across the world to go adopt a child who needs help? Well, that would be nice. Wouldn't it be just nice if you just left people's marriages alone? What if we just started there? Anyway, Brad Pitt might very well be a terrible dad. Who knows? It is strange that 6 children would suddenly deny you and also want to change their last name and not, no longer be a Pitt. Shiloh just recently came out very publicly and was like, "I am now Shiloh Jolie." So Shiloh Jolie has obviously denied her father. Also, they say that the other children are either in the process of or also thinking of changing their last name. So it would appear that Angelina has gotten her claws into the children. Hard to say. As long as we're talking about diabolical women, let's talk about Meghan Markle. I don't have much to say, except for the fact that she has unveiled plans to add hotels and restaurants to the As Ever brand. I don't know what she's planning on meting out to these people. She couldn't even manage to get jars of honey out when she had claimed that those were going to be something you could purchase, and then 0 people got the honey. So I don't really understand how she thinks that if she can't equip you all with her subpar teas and dry biscuits, she's going to now be able to source restaurants and hotels with her disgusting offerings. But now that, that's her view on the horizon. But see, this is a person who consistently makes claims on a grand level and then never manages to actually get the job done. Not even one part of me thinks I'll ever go into a hotel and see a packet of tea that says As Ever on it. Not even a little bit. Because this is a person who in her PR boxes couldn't send out the honey. You can't cobble together a couple of jars of honey for the celebrities whose boxes are being sent out, but you think you're going to be able to supply chains of hotels and restaurants with your gross junk? I can tell you this much right now. No hotel or restaurant is beating the door down to get a little can of your flour sprinkles. Hamster food, really? I don't think any of us are paying for an overpriced room with the hopes that we'll get a little flour sprinkles in on the mix. Please don't forget my hamster food, okay? Is that going to cost me extra? All right. Well, she's coming up with new plans that she won't actually be able to execute. The one thing her little fingers have been busy at is posting pictures of the kids, as we've discussed. But also, as we've discussed, Harry is making all kinds of comments to other people to the side about how much he really hates this. That he does not want the children featured on social media, even if they put a little heart over their face. Because he wants his children's lives to be private. This is such a fundamental thing that their relationship had been founded on, the need for privacy, the reason they ran away from England, the reason that they, were crying about the breach of privacy when they were in Canada and had to fall on the neck of their friends here in the United States. We need a house with better security, please. Our children's lives are in danger.
I was in Afghanistan and I'm afraid the terrorists are going to come kill us all.
Okay, well, is that what you're posting, like, practically in real time, that you guys are over at Disneyland? I understand his frustration, but I also feel like, couldn't you have seen this as what was going to happen? When has Meghan ever kept her word? To anybody, over anything, at any time. I feel like if they break up over anything, it'll be this. Because the foundation of their relationship, what they bonded on, was the need for secrecy and privacy, and, everyone needs to get out of our lives, and we need to make sure that we have the power over what information is being put out about us. She keeps posting things and getting bad publicity about it, and then responding to that, but hoping to placate the masses with more and more information about the kids. She really resents that people don't think of her as this mom that she wants people to imagine that she is. And so in order to negate that bad impression, she continues to leak out more and more things about the kids. Before it was somebody's hand, then it was the back of their head, then it was them running across the screen, and now she's actually posting full-on front photos of the kids, although she does put something in front of their face. But those children are now being featured prominently in her social media, which was something we all knew would happen. But did Harry? I can't imagine that he did, since he's always the one out there parading around about how bad and how dangerous social media is. And let me just say, I agree with him. I think social media is one of the great mind control apparatuses that we've ever seen. Not necessarily to be used by some evil genius, but just it's numbed us down. It's made us stupid. It makes us completely incapable of coming up with our own conclusions. Well, we'll just let a reel or a TikTok or something inform us in 25 seconds. So I'm not against him feeling like social media is a real pariah on the population. But what I do think is that he didn't ever think Meghan would go to those lengths. And I just think, you poor dumb fool. I don't understand how he's been in such perpetual ignorance of her character, unless he just truly is unintelligent. Because, like I've said many times, she's not a master manipulator. She's manipulative, but she's not some kind of con artist. She's not like Diddy level mastery of the psyche, where it's like you watch the Diddy trial that's going on, and it's like, how are so many people still enamored with him? Just the way everybody talks about him, it's like, I just couldn't get away. I just kept going back. And even some of his past employees don't seem to hate him like they ought to. Meghan is not that kind of manipulator. She's not working on that kind of level. She is your garden variety manipulative narcissist bitch. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't ever seem to realize that. And now, judging from statements that people close to him are making, he's devastated that she's chosen this route. Did you truly not see this coming? Blessed boy. I can only imagine that Harry is just pining for a day, hoping for a reason when he can get out of this. But I don't think he knows where to go. And every day there's another story about how much the doors are closed to him at home back in England. Like they just are not opening them back up. But if that's true, I just think that keeps him unhappily with Meghan, even though I think that given any kind of sturdy plan, he would take it immediately to distance himself. Other people who've been trying to distance themselves from family, which seems to be the theme today, so maybe that's my subconscious theme here. Greta Thunberg has been, a leech for a while on various causes. And right now has been floating around on a flotilla in which she said she was, trying to take a stand for something. Nobody cares what Greta's doing, but she's such a controversial little figure that her sister has decided to drop the Thunberg last name and take on her mother's maiden name. Her sister has now come out and she's got this interesting music career herself. I cannot even think of two people who are so vastly different from each other.
dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Interessante, as they say. Because what is going on with the costume choices, the makeup choices, all the choices, really? The mother of these two girls is got to be out of her mind. She apparently was some kind of famous person, semi-famous, and she represented her country in some kind of European songwriting contest. So I guess, everybody's just grubbing for what little kind of fame they can get. But it's pretty questionable over there in that household. I mean, it's very weird. It's very weird how mother and daughters are just, something's driving these people. But what? Not sanity. All right, in our final stories, I saw a report that Camilla is doing quite poorly with her health. And that she recently had a surgery for her liver because she's not doing well from, I suppose, years of enjoying a beverage. Well, that's not her only issue. And the story was about the fact that she is having these super expensive shoes made because her feet are she can barely walk. She has these bunions, apparently, that are so painful and so destabilizing that she can't walk unless she spends money on these shoes. And these shoes are like $1,000 a pair because they're handmade in order to support her crippled feet, but also to negate the look of the bunions that she has. And so the story was just saying that there are outraged people behind the scenes mad that she's spending taxpayer money on these shoes that she has to keep her out of a wheelchair, that she's like basically and literally on her last leg, and that she's spending all this money in order to appear fit and able, but it's all because she's wearing these $1,000 a pair shoes. Who knows? I mean, the things people get themselves worked up about. I think that we are all disappointed to see Camilla where she's at. I mean, maybe not all of us, but I think some of us are just like, wow, she really just finagled her way in, didn't she? And I know that she's the one that Charles wanted. So in the end, I suppose, what does it matter what we say? He seems happily married and they seem like they're a good fit. They must be. They fought against all the odds to be together, and he's done nothing but defend her time and time again against public opinion. So I'm sure he would do anything to keep her on her feet, and that includes spending an egregious amount of money on handmade shoes so that the world doesn't know she has crippling bunions. Really, what kind of story is this? But I only saw it in one place, so who knows if it's really true. But we don't talk a lot about Camilla. What are you guys' feelings about her as a person? All right, well, that's that for today. I will see you guys next week. If you guys enjoyed that story that I told this past week, let me know. I had no idea that they would get such a positive response. Honestly, I've never done a video that got such a positive response on views, but also in comments, really ever. I've done videos that have gotten big response view-wise because it was about Harry and Meghan. And I'd always been sort of discouraged that kind of content was what people always seemed to gravitate towards. And the morning that I made that video, I was like, Lord, I just want to talk about celebrity stuff today. I just don't. I just would love to do something that's just a little bit more helpful and meaningful. And then he reminded me of that story, and I thought, yeah, I'll tell that story. And then I didn't even really expect to really put any sort of wisdom at the end of it. And then it just came to me as I was talking, and so I said it, and the response has been awesome. And I would love to do more content like that. And since it seems to be well received, let me know if that is something you would like to see more of, or if it was just like, well, that was good once, but I don't really want to see that anymore. So let me know. Thanks so much for watching today. Thanks for keeping me company. I'll see you guys later. Bye.